Thank you, Brother Freddie. It was a lot of years ago that two cousins visited our church, rode the van to the VFW in Brewster, and their names were Vanessa and Crystal. And they came for a while, and they were very, very faithful. And Sunday morning, you could count on them. They'd be there every week. And then eventually, they each brought their little brothers. Crystal brought her little brother, Richard, and Vanessa brought her little brothers, Matthew and Jose. And they became very, very faithful to church. And Richard did and does talk nonstop, but Matthew and Jose were always very, very quiet, and but faithful to church. In 2012, I think it was. That's my memory anyway. Matthew, Jose, Richard all went to youth conference for the first time, I think, that year, and God got a hold of their hearts, and you began to see changes. And now, since he's preaching tonight, I'm going to focus on Jose. The Lord just worked in a mighty way in Jose's heart, and you began to see his maturity, his growth in the Lord, his zeal for the Lord, and eventually saying he wanted to go to Hyles Anderson College. I remember when he graduated from Danbury High School, and the plan was all along for him to graduate and then go to Hyles Anderson. And just looking at his situation, asking him questions, we came to the realization that financially he wasn't going to make it that first year. So I went to the DeJesus home and sat with Jose's mom and dad and just said, "Look, I'm sorry, but," and I thought they were going to be upset that I was saying this, but I said, "I'm sorry, but I just don't think that Jose's going to make it financially if he goes right away." And I usually don't recommend that people take a year off before they go to college, but I first of all, I see his zeal, and I believe he'll be just fine. But secondly, I think he needs a year to just put some money away. And they agreed. In fact, they were relieved. They're so glad you said that, because they were worried about how he was going to do financially. And I don't mean to tell your whole life story, Brother Jose, but we went out after that. And, now, like every business you apply online, at that point, the mid-teens, it was about 50-50. Some stores you'd walk in or some businesses you'd walk in, and some you did do online. In fact, it was probably more still walk-in at that point. And Brother Jose went to like 30 places, just went after it, and got hired by one place, and that didn't work out, and then got hired at Walmart, right? And went to work at Walmart and just started putting the money away for college. Went to college, did a tremendous job for the Lord, and paid his way through college. Didn't have anybody underwriting his college time, and I'm so proud of him. He graduated and has been serving the Lord here since then, and I just look forward to what the Lord's going to do in his life. God has big things for him, and I'm excited to see how the Lord uses him. I praise the Lord for his work in the bus ministry and junior church, and now with helping Brother Emil and Miss Lily in the Spanish Sunday school class. And the Lord's hand is on Brother Jose. He has a great zeal for the Lord. And so let's pay attention. Ask the Lord to speak to your heart as Brother Jose DeJesus comes and preaches for us tonight.
This is on? You sure? I don't hear myself.
We got
Oh, you guys can hear me? I guess that's what matters, right? God's funny, isn't he? In such a funny way. I remember when I first asked God, or when I first said, God, I'll serve you, I had one condition. I said, one condition. Please don't have me work with children. Whatever you do, no, I don't want to work with children. My patience is bad. My freshman year of college, would you have it? Somebody's like, why don't you help us out? I'm like, sure, I'm here to help. They send me out. It's a junior church. And I'm like, oh, no, here we go. Then I tried getting out of it my sophomore year. Somebody's like, well, we need your help. Okay, fine, whatever. And now here I am. I love what I do. Love the kids. Love serving the kids. Love helping out on the bus and doing what I do on the bus. And love going out and soul winning and letting people know about Christ. They say that your happiness can be bought, maybe. You can have all the money in the world. You can have all the things, all the houses and cars you can dream of, but I don't know. There's something about serving God that is irreplaceable to me. And there's something about it that gives me joy. I get a paycheck every week, and yes, that gives me joy, but when I get to do what I do on Saturdays and Sundays, there's just the joy there that money can't buy. Our text today is going to be Genesis chapter number 37, verse number 13 through 24. We'll be going through some of Genesis. Hold up, this fan is Genesis chapter number 37, verse number 13 and 24. We're going to talk about Joseph today. And Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem. Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, here am I. And he said to him, go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, what seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, they are departed hence. And for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren, and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit. And we will say, some evil beast had devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to this father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him and cast him into a pit. And the pit was empty. There was no water in it. Let's pray, and then we'll go ahead and get to the message. Heavenly Father, Lord, would you please use me? It's not about me. It's not about anything I've done, Lord. Would you just please, Lord, speak through me? I don't have anything special to say. I just ask that you speak, Lord. In your name I pray. Amen. You read through this passage, and you read through the next couple passages of the life of Joseph. Joseph had a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean he had a lot of inconveniences in his life. He would have different paths set to him based on things he didn't do, based on things that weren't his fault. It was out of his control. Most of the problems, I would say, in Joseph's life weren't caused by him, but for the most part caused by other people. We're going to go through these trials that Joseph ran through in life. We're going to see what caused it, how it got caused, and how Joseph reacted to these trials, and how we can learn from Joseph today. So let's take a look at some of these trials. First, Genesis chapter number 37, verse 21 through 25. And Reuben heard it and delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver them to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit. And the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. So we see the first trial that Joseph is going to face. The pit. He's in a pit. See, a pit is described as a deep, dark hole. And in this deep, dark hole, he's being, not him himself, but other people are plotting against him. In this deep, dark hole, he has no control of what's about to happen. He can try to escape, but the hole is so deep that there is not enough time to escape. And as his brothers are eating, they plot to sell him. His life is about to change. His life is about to change in a direction he wasn't expecting. For so many years, Joseph was his father's favorite. For so many years, Joseph was known as the dreamer. He got the nicest coat in the building. But now, his life is going to change. And can I say, when we enter a pit, our lives can be changed. See, a pit isn't always a good thing. A pit can sometimes refer to as sin. A pit can refer to as some kind of trial or temptation. A pit isn't always a good thing. But how we get out of that pit is what determines how strong we really are. I want to see some things here from this text. First, Joseph didn't voluntarily go into this pit. It was caused by his own brothers. You see, Joseph did not want to go to this pit. He didn't expect to go to this pit. This pit was brought to him by his own brothers. But you see, that can be referred to as us. Maybe not brothers, and maybe not friends. But let me ask this question. Are you causing other people to go into a pit? Are you causing other people to go into a pit? A pit of despair, a pit of sin. Is that us today? And if that's us, we should stop that now. Let me ask this question, though. Are other people leading you to the pit? Are you allowing other people to lead you to a pit of despair, a pit of anger, some kind of pit that you don't want to be a part of? A deep, dark hole. Can I say, when you stay in that deep, dark hole for a very long time, I know this from experience, it's not pretty. It's not. A deep, dark hole, when you're in there for a long time, it darkens your heart. It darkens your mind. It darkens everything about you. The light that God has given us gets darker the longer we stay in that pit. Yes, sir. This pit is not a good thing to be a part of. How do we get out of this pit? How do we get out of this pit? Notice this. The pit changed the direction of Joseph's life. Again, no longer is he a shepherd, and no longer is he under his father as his favorite. No, now his life is going to change completely. He's going to go to a different country. He's going to go and do different cultural things. He's going to be a slave in a part. See, these pits change your life. These pits change the course of your life. But I want to notice something. Joseph's attitude while he's in this pit. See, the pit wasn't brought out by Joseph. His brothers brought him to that pit. This pit wasn't something that he was expecting, but it changed his life. But through this pit, Joseph's attitude never changed. He stood obedient to God. He stood obedient to God. You see, Joseph could have easily said after all that, I'm done. No more. God, why would I even do that? Look at what you've done. I'm away from my family now. Look at how far I am. I don't even know what's going to happen to my family anymore. I'm a slave. I'm the lowest part I can be. But he didn't do that. Through it all, he stayed obedient to God. We're going to go through another trial in Joseph's life. Genesis chapter number 39, verse number 10 through 20. And it came to pass, I see that you guys are still going, so. Okay. And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, she refers to as Potiphar's wife, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into this house to do his business. And there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in a Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass when he heard that, I lifted up my voice and cried, and he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. A minute here. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he lifted up his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison. See, not only was Joseph's first trial a pit, his next trial was doing the right thing, but being falsely accused. Yeah. Doing the right thing, but being falsely accused. Joseph, in this story right here, rejected Potiphar's wife. It says day by day. He kept rejecting her. He didn't want her. All he wanted to do was do his job like his master, Potiphar, had asked him. He didn't want the distractions. He didn't want any of it. He tried to stay away. But Potiphar's wife was persistent. And she was persistent. And one day, Joseph's all alone. Finally, now's her chance. So she tries and gets him. But he's able to escape. But as he escapes, he leaves behind perhaps a robe or some kind of garment. And in that, Potiphar's wife was able to accuse Joseph of something he didn't do. You see, when we try to do right, we're always going to be accused. When we try to do right, we're always going to be accused. Notice this. Joseph was just doing his job. He wasn't looking for any trouble. As a matter of fact, like I said, he's rejected Potiphar's wife countless times before this. But again, when we're doing right, people are looking at us trying to find the wrong. When we try to do right, as we try to walk our Christian life, people are going to look at us and judge us through any little thing we do. Any little thing we do, they look at us and they say, you see, this is why I don't want to be a Christian, because of his attitude. You see, this is why I don't want to be a Christian, because he thinks or she thinks that they're better than me. But the problem with that is, most of the time, we're just trying to do right. We're just trying to live right. So, not only that, but again, in this situation, Joseph isn't put in this trial because he did anything wrong. He's not put in this trial because he did anything wrong. No, this time he's in this trial because of Potiphar's wife. Yet again, somebody else caused him to be put in a trial he didn't need to be a part of. Now he's going to be in jail. Then we see this. Not Joseph in jail, but Genesis chapter number 40, verse number 12 through 14. And Joseph said unto them, this is the interpretation of it, the 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head and restore thee unto thy place. And thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after the former manner when thou wast his butler. But think on me, read this, but think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of his house. Now skip over to verse 23, and it says, yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. Joseph's trial was him trying to do right, but people accusing him of doing wrong. Joseph's trial was a pit. But can I say this? Joseph's trial was not in jail. Joseph's trial was being forgotten. Being forgotten. You see, he wasn't forgotten by God, though. He was never forgotten by God. But he was forgotten by other people. That's when we're at our loneliest, huh? When we feel like everyone's forgotten about us. When we feel like nobody cares about our issues. Nobody cares about our problems. But can I submit to you today that there is somebody that cares? His name is God. He's a prayer away. You see, when you feel like you've forgotten, when you feel like God, like you have been forgotten by other people, remember this. God hasn't forgotten you. And let me say this. God hasn't forgotten your issues. One other thing to think about here. Joseph wanted to be remembered then and there so he can escape jail. It was on Joseph's term he wanted to be remembered. But it's not on our time. It's in God's time. It's not on our time. It's in God's time. That's something I struggle with the most. Because I want it now. My mindset is plan this, and it's going to all happen. But the thing is, it's not on my terms. It's on God's terms. And the thing is, it's not on your terms. It's on God's terms. And can I say this? As Pastor was saying, when I had to wait a year to go to Bible college, you don't know how many tears I shed that day when I found out I was going to wait a year. You don't know how many tears I shed that day. But can I say, God showed me through that year why he wanted me to wait? Can I say that I wanted to graduate with my class? I graduated a year later. I wanted to graduate with my class. But you know what? God had a different plan for me. And that plan is better than my plan. And God's plan is always better than our plans. You see, Joseph wanted to be remembered at that time. He didn't want to be forgot. He was never forgotten by God. So 2 final things about Joseph here. 3 final things. I want to bring something up here. First, his testimony never changed while he was facing his trials. Throughout this time, Joseph faced these trials. His testimony never changed. He stayed consistent. Want to know how I know he stayed consistent? Because in everything that he did, he was always the right-hand man. He was always second in command. When he was with his father, he was his father's favorite. Then, when he's with Potiphar, he's Potiphar's right-hand man. Then, when he's with the gatekeeper, he's the gatekeeper's right-hand man. Even after he gets out of jail, he's second in command. His testimony stayed consistent. Listen, I don't know what you're going through today. I don't. I know we're all going through something because I could tell you I'm going through something. All of us are going through something. But while we're going through that, stay consistent in your testimony. Stay consistent in your testimony. Let me say this. In all this, none of this was really Joseph's fault, if I'm honest with you, when he was put into the pit. He was put into the pit by his brothers. When he was accused by Potiphar's wife. And when he was forgotten by the butler. It was never Joseph's real fault that all this happened. But can I say this? The devil knows who to use. The devil knows who to use. You understand that when you decided to be a Christian, you're now in spiritual warfare. You now know that the devil is going to target you like nobody else has. He's going to come after you, and he's going to stay persistent. You see, that's the thing. The devil has many sins, but one thing he is not is he's not lazy. He comes after you like a roaring lion, looking a way to destroy your life. He knows your weaknesses. He's coming for your weaknesses. Don't ever catch yourself slipping. When you're in a trial, that's you at your weakest. That's when you need to go to God the most. When you're at a trial, when you're trying to decide what's going on next in your life, that's when you need to go to God the most, because that's when the devil is going to try to influence you the most. But notice this, lastly here, and then we'll conclude. God brought him out of his trials. At the end of all of this, God brought Joseph out of his trials. Yes, there was a pit. Yes, he was doing right, but he was accused. Yes, they forgot about him. But you know what? God never forgot about him. God knew exactly what he was doing when it came to Joseph. And Joseph was blessed after these trials. Want to know how I know he was blessed? Because he's remembered by the butler eventually. The king has a bad dream. Then the king tells the butler, and the butler says, you know, when I was in jail, there was this guy that told me my dream, that interpreted my dream. Maybe he can help you. And as he interprets this dream, as Joseph interprets this dream, the king was so impressed by him that he said, you know what? I want you second in command. I want you to, when this famine happens, I want you to make sure we have enough crops so that when the famine happens, you know what? We're not going to have to worry, and people can come to us and we can still profit. Also, he gets to meet with his brothers again. He gets to meet with his dad again. He gets to meet the brother he never met. Understand that Joseph probably assumed that he was never going to see his family ever again. But yet God was so gracious to him that he allowed him to see them again. And in seeing him again, he forgave them. He forgave them. Let me give you a personal testimony to conclude today. I don't talk about my issues very much. I try to keep it to myself. And I often ask God, or this week, God was putting it in my mind, and I said, God, I don't want to talk about this. This isn't. But I feel like God's been leading me, and I want to just talk to you about the pit I faced. The pit I faced. It was my sophomore year of college, the end of my sophomore year of college. I was going for a second job. We were about to go to the summer, and I decided I was going to stay. I was looking for a second job because I had a goal in mind for how much I wanted to save for my junior year. So I had two options presented to me. The first option was with my roommate, working with my roommate. They both were cleaning jobs. And then the other option was to work with my classmate or with my bus worker. I thought about it and I went with my bus worker. Well, you see, the thing is, a week before summer hit, my bus worker came up to me and said, hey, I'm going to be leaving this summer. That job you took, you're going to have to do it by yourself. And I tried to get out of it, but it was too late. So I took that job by myself. I was already working another job. And I'll be honest with you, I was already fatigued. I was very tired. I felt very alone at that time. And in that time, I don't know how, something popped up on my phone. And I got hooked in a bad sin. That bad sin, I was working two jobs. I was very close to paying the first semester of my junior year off. Very close. But that sin happened around July. I had to use my credit card to pay off for the first bill of my junior year. That sin cost me thousands of dollars. That sin didn't just cost me thousands of dollars. It caused me to go into debt. My school bill, with my credit card, and then another debt would come out later on. That sin caused me to be on the financial withdrawn list. We have a list of financially withdrawn people. I was always paying on time, but it caused me to be on the financial withdrawn list for the first time, and now after that many times. But it cost me a lot more. It cost me my happiness with God. You see, I just felt at that time that God went away from me. I thought that God had forgotten about me in that time. I had gotten so distant from God. This is how bad it got, that two of my bus kids at the time came up to me and said, "Brother Jose, let's pray at the altar of the church." And I'm praying with them. And after I got out of that prayer, I felt like a complete phony. I didn't believe a word I prayed. That's how distant I got from God. Mind you, that was the first time I went to the altar in about a year and a half. I got so far away from God. So far away from God. I got so discontent. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think I was ever going to come out of it. I thought that at the end of all this, I was going to come out and just go of the world, if I was honest with you. That was my fear. Well, it was one night, I came back home in December. I was helping out with Omni Night. And I was talking to Zach. And in that, Zach was gracious to me. He stayed on the bus and he asked me what was wrong. And I was honest with him. I said, I just don't think God can use me anymore. That's how I felt. I said, I just feel like I have gone so distant from God that God can't use me anymore. He talked to me that day and gave me some thoughts. I flew home from college for New Year's, on New Year's Day, and it was cold. I grabbed a jacket, and I went outside, and in the cold, and I just walked around. And I remember crying. And I remember saying, "God, what am I doing? Why is all this happening? Why am I so mad at you?" That day was the restoration I needed to be where I'm at now. It wasn't fast-tracked. I didn't fast-track it. No, I took my time with it. I rediscovered my love for God, but I took my time with it. I slowly started reading my Bible again. I slowly started praying again. I slowly started serving with more fire again. And I could say this. I could say that I can give you that testimony today because I'm not ashamed of the testimony anymore. No, it's something that God can use now because he got me out of my pit. He got Joseph out of his pit. And any pit and any trial you're a part of right now, he can get you out of. Pastor, I'll hand it over to you.